Okay,
All right. How's
I
it
think we're
sound?
good. I think we're good.
I think we're good. Sweet.
The numerology worked out. The numerology this time worked out because I restarted my phone at 4:09 and 13. My life is in this 13 loop that I just can't seem to break. So everything seems to be good now.
Oh, I love it when that happens.
So yeah, like I said, you've been we've been connected for a long time. So I know you know a lot of things, but we don't talk enough for me to really know uh, some of your perspectives on things. And I'm like a social media hermit too. I'm kind of like a one-way street, so I don't really scroll so much. But I remember, like I was like years ago, you were into the doula and midwifery thing, and that's something I really wanted to get into. And I felt like as soon as life gives me the time and space to read them books, either I'm gonna have a child or I'm gonna be in a space where I have to help somebody deliver their child, whether it be my sister or somebody, I don't know. But I kind of feel like
Mm.
I feel like I'm procrastinating a little bit because I don't even want the power a little bit. Kind of, I'm like, oh no, well if I never read the book, then life ain't never gonna give me the opportunity. But nah, I would like to. I would like to get into it. So I don't know if you want to tell me the best resources of the people that you trust to go and get some of that information.
Yeah, I think that's super cool that you want to get into it. I think it would be incredible if more males got into it, kind of open it up a little bit. I
Yeah, man,
don't
Dr. Africa used to have a course for it, but then he died. So I got to figure out maybe if he has if Melanie Stevens, his widow, is still doing that. I don't know, but yeah, more dudes need to know how to do it, man, because we all got sisters and moms and cousins and nieces and stuff. Why not?
Yeah, and I know for myself personally, like if if and when I get to that point of having a child, I would prefer the father to deliver the child. That's definitely one of my big things for, when I get to that point, that's like sort of a requirement, I guess I would say I have, or an expectation, however you want to put it. Um, I'd rather my child be caught by their father than a stranger or somebody I don't know too well. But as far as resources go for it, the furthest I really got into it is I kind of saw that like, each state and every country has different requirements. So a lot of it's like researching where you think you're gonna want to work out of. So I know for me, when I started my research, I was in Wisconsin, and so I was looking up with Wisconsin state laws around it. And when I got back to Oregon, which is where I'm from, I found out that Oregon, they don't actually like require certifications. It's kind of like a voluntary thing to become certified, which is a little sketchy in my opinion. But
Yeah,
it's a little difficult because go ahead.
I guess it's good if you want to become one, but not if you want to find one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, my a lot of my friends have given birth the past 2 years. I mean, there's been like something crazy number, like 13 babies born, and I've met 10 of them, and I've got three godchildren now in the span of 2 years. So it's a lot of babies being born, and a lot of my friends wanted, they were asking me too, like, are you gonna get your certification? Like, I want you to do it, but I just had some family stuff going on that was a bigger concern at that point in time. But a lot of it starts just, I think, with doing research on where you want to work from. And so for me, ideally, I'd like to be able to go global. Like I'd like to be able to go take trips to Africa and help do like voluntary delivery services out there. And then when I'm here in the States, if I stay in the States, which I haven't totally decided yet with everything that's been going on, um, it's more so just lots of researching and reading reviews, and then I plan to go into the places that I'm interested in being taught from and just having conversations with people because the vibes will tell you straight up, if it seems like somewhere that's legit. But I think doing it in person is a huge thing. And as far as literature goes, like I would just read anything that sounds interesting to you because it's so detailed. It's such a detailed field that I think has been less detailed just so people can kind of get in and make money with it. But there's so much to learn with it. And a lot of what got me into it was actually you bringing up the trauma that comes with childbirth. That's kind of what set me on that. When I heard you talking about that, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, no wonder we're uncomfortable. Like, that's not a good transition.
Yeah, I always like equated like to like if you was to go into like a place for the first time and then immediately when you get in there, people just mistreat you and mutilate your genitals or something
Ugh.
or vaccinate you. As soon as the first day you go to work or some job or something or to go to some gym. Like if you look at it like that, like yo, I went into this bar, yo. As soon as I got in the bar, man, they cut my dick and stabbed me, yo. Like
Yeah, for real, it's outrageous.
so you just be traumatized about bars or gyms or whatever it is forever. But like if it's it really makes you. I feel like it creates a distrust for your parents, for your mom. Like how could you let this happen? I feel like it's like a lot of distrust gets created.
A
Um,
100%.
yeah, but those 9 months, man, of gestation, I feel like that's really so I mean the whole process leading up to it, everything's valuable, every day's valuable, but that 9 months I feel like it's really difficult for people to I feel like give have a birth that or have a re-arrival, whatever, what have you, to have it in I guess a complementary fashion, organic fashion or peaceful, fashion,
Yeah.
gen- gentle because like the dad is usually not he don't have the time and space, the mom don't have the time and space for them to really like be together throughout that whole process. So it's so much like chaos, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. And
You're not
the baby's just absorbing it like a sponge.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge, huge problem. I completely agree with you, and that's kind of the basis for the doula sanctuary or the child sanctuary. I don't really know what I want to call it yet, but I guess child sanctuary is more encompassing because I want to work with, children that have already been here and then the ones coming into the world. Like I really feel like the parents should have, a little cabin in the middle of the woods like a week before the birth to just like calm down and take that time to be able to fully submit to the what's happening before their eyes. Everybody's kind of rushing their births and there's a lot of like people involved and there's overstimulation in every way leading up to the birth, I feel like. And I think that if people had the option and the availability, like I'm talking, I want to make this dirt cheap to free. I want to be able to provide like transportation for these people because in the long run, it's like if we can get the like if we can start having sexual relations in a more or just in a non-perverted way and then be able to carry the child in a way that's not overstimulating and then birth the child in a safe space that's welcoming and not like again overstimulating. I think that's gonna uh, we're gonna start to see like a sort of recession with a lot of awkward childhood development issues and um, just a decrease in violence in general because I believe that they're directly linked. So until that space is there, like I don't see it changing too much. So I'd like to start that and then hopefully maybe some people have a similar desire in their hearts to do the same thing and it can kind of become a thing where it's like you can go have a retreat and have your baby and stay there for a while, get all acclimated and then, go back home and do what you do. But to just calm that process down would, I think, serve like the entire world very well because I'm just always so curious as to how like you see like an innocent little baby and then later on it turns into somebody like Trump, or somebody that's just mad violent. And I'm like, yo, how does that happen? Like what's going on? And it's like you said, like it's from the beginning, it's perverted initially. And that's where they're getting us, is they're starting us off with this weird shit to give birth to our children, and it really doesn't make any sense when you really look at all the processes for it.
Yeah, it's not as far as that, like I guess the birth traumas, it's like everything. It's like a whole bunch of traumas going into it. It might
Hmm.
be. I don't know when it started. I don't know if it was a sexual trauma or just a traumatized person that didn't resolve it. Then they had a child. Because I feel like it's kind of like, I don't really know kids, man. I've never been around kids in my life, really never, really ever.
Oh, it's interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I held my niece like twice. She about to be 2. I've held her twice. That's the only time I've really held a kid. I think I can't remember
Whoa.
holding a kid. Like an infantile kid, I had a neighbor that had some kids that climbed on me. They was like 3 or 4 though, you know what I mean? But I never like picked up a baby, you know what I mean, other than my niece twice.
Wow.
Yeah. So besides that, I really don't know kids like at all, really. You know what I mean? And then like a lot of my childhood is blank because I feel like vaccines, probably, circumcision, all them traumas, I don't remember. A lot of the beginning, I don't remember. Like a lot of my memories before 7, a lot of the time I need other people to remind me and like trying to jar those memories up to remind me, oh yeah, that did happen. I remember that. But it's kind of blank before 7. I remember some of it, it's not like it's all gone, but most of it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's buried.
That's
So
interesting. Why do you think that is? Like, I've always been curious as to the potential reasoning for the loss of access to the memory at such a young age for people, because I didn't know for the longest that that wasn't a thing. Like, because I remember my earliest memory was from 10 months, and I was able to confirm it with my biological mother. Like, I remember my little crib, the room. There's like these little things hanging from like I thought my room was in a closet, and she's like, no, it was like an office room, so it was kind of like a small room. But I remember like I had a pink blanket, and there was like these things like those like 70s little dangly things that people would hang in the hallways or in door frames. We
yeah, I
had
think I
that.
remember
Yeah, they just like from like the top of the frame down to the floor, they would just hang and you walk through them or
that.
whatever.
It's like
But
beads,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the beads. But she had like these little stars. I remember the stars, and I remember like once I got older, I was able to pinpoint what like shampoo she was using because I remember how her hair smelled. And I remember I was in there a lot, and she was like, "Yeah, once I hit like 9, 10 months, I started sleeping a ton." So I remember like being picked up and put down in that crib over and over again. And after that, I think my memories start like around like 2 and some change because then my first brother was born when I was 2.5, and I started taking care of him like right after he was born because my biological mother wasn't real present, and ain't got no daddy type deal, so it was just us. My brother's dad came in and out every once in a while, but yeah, I didn't know that people didn't remember stuff from their youth. So what do you think that might be like? What do you think it
I
might
mean,
be for you even?
I chalk it up to the vaccines, but maybe there are buried traumas in there that I'm just blocking myself out from that I don't really know. You know what I mean? I don't know what might have happened.
Mm,
You know what I mean? But I know that the vaccines couldn't have helped and circumcision didn't help. It's
right.
the most sensitive part of the male body getting cut off. It's like if you cut a clitoris off. So I don't think that that can help. Because all trauma is going to create some sort of like amnesia, especially to an.
Mm-hmm.
So and, then they told me about other things that did happen. They said I fell down the steps in a walker, like concrete steps, like because I lived in an apartment building and like the
Oh
front.
my goodness.
Yeah, so like different things. I had, I don't know, a lot, and then it's like I got a bunch of head traumas in my life in general. I had a bunch of concussions from football and sports and
Right.
different things. Throughout my life, I probably had like 14 serious concussions. So maybe like the recall would have been there at younger ages, but now I just am so far from it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know like that. It's been times where I would dream and then I would have dreams and I'm like, yo, this is not a dream. This is a memory. I just don't remember it because I don't remember it. It's just like when I was 2 or 3 and I'm on a tricycle or something. And I'm like, because I'm in the dream, like, damn, everybody was bigger than me. And I felt like I've been to the place before. I feel like I knew it, but it was like a retro dream. And then it just dawns on me, like, yo, that's a memory. That's not a dream.
Man.
And so I feel like it's there. It's all there. I just don't, it's so much between me and myself, so many traumas between me and myself in those periods, I guess, that it's like a failsafe. I guess I can't digest it all at once, so I'm like just periodically getting pieces.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. And then, like I said, man, I got like all the vaccines. I don't know. Maybe other people didn't get all of them, but I got like all like 50 something vaccines by the age of 5 or 6 or something like that. And
Like
like,
50. I didn't
I
even
like
know there was that many available. Damn.
it's like a sheet. It's like a sheet. I remember seeing like the vaccination record sheet, like when I went to college. I had it, and I was because it was like they were trying to say like you need the meningitis vaccine or whatever. So I'm looking at my sheet, and I think it was like 40 something or 50 something vaccines that they gave me, mostly between ages from birth to 5, I think. And like,
Right.
yeah, so and then they gave me some type of shot in my foot that I guess a lot of people don't get. I don't know what it did, what I mean, because it was complications with my birth too. So I had to get cut out, and so I really kind of was never born in a sense. I was
That's a
kind of,
trip.
yeah, like so I was cesarean, and then I was jaundiced, so they left me in the hospital. Like my mom left and everything too, so it was like a
Oh
period.
no.
I got cut out, and then I just was in the hospital for like a day or two, mainly just for myself. And I don't know what might have happened in that period. I don't know what they could have done to me. I really don't know. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? I really don't know. I just know that when it comes to, because I don't know kids, but I know dogs, and like
Yeah.
I know dogs, and I feel like dogs manifest in your life. Like they like occupy a space that you're not occupying, and like I feel like when you're not in touch with the childish part of yourself, like it's easier to like kind of circumvent that part and like bypass it and go through another outlet to get in touch with it. Like
Mhm.
vicariously getting in touch with my inner child through my dog. People talk to dogs like with the baby voice and everything.
Yep.
I feel like that's just getting in touch with the baby in them, and they just doing it through the dog. So I feel like just throughout my time and having dogs throughout my life, I started to see like, yo, I've kind of compartmentalized this part of me, like that I can only really get in touch with it through this dog or these dogs that they bring me back to that place, and I feel comfortable enough to like tap in because it's not like direct, it's not as direct. It feels like more safe because it's through the dog. It's not
Mhm.
and it's also not a human, so it feels even more safe. Like whereas
Right.
if I have my own child, then it's like I gotta really I gotta really kind of get in touch with my inner child, and because that's what they are. They're like the external personified version of it. So it's like more pressure in a sense. It's like more scary because it's more sensitive. Whereas a dog, like, it's gonna grow up, it's gonna develop, or it's gonna mature, but it's never gonna reach a certain kind of like uh level of challenging me.
Yeah, the
The dog
reflection's different.
yeah, the dog will challenge me in another way, but it's not gonna be the level of challenge that like a replica of me would challenge me. Like because if you see yourself like that in third person or whatever through your child, you're seeing yourself. You're like, damn, man, I did this because I think it all becomes clear to you. You're like, oh snap, I was doing this because of this, and now you're behaving this way. So now I have to really be careful about my words or what I say because I know if I don't, then you're gonna end up like me. And
Yeah, it's mad pressure.
yeah, I feel like with the dogs it's easier, and then like you were saying, man, like dogs, like you said, babies are like sponges, especially like in the womb. It's like dogs are like sponges too, man. I feel like in the sense that like every time like my house was not at peace, my dogs, they would have it'd be problems with them. My dogs would fight or something. Like it would, it
Mhm.
would, it would be things that was totally uncharacteristic of the dogs. They might have been at peace for years, and then we as a family, we're not doing something or we're not venting, and the dogs just absorbing that, like and I feel like that's like kind of like the same thing with a kid. You know what I mean? Like it's like this entity that's maturing or developing or like holding down a space in the house, and like it's just going to reflect like the summation of the energies that's flowing through the house. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because your body's like a house. Your parents are like two houses, and they kind of become one house, and then like you are like a representation amalgamation of both of them. So like if you're just angry all the time or you're not processing that, then like it's gonna bleed into the kid. Like if it wasn't already there. it's like it's just gonna get amplified more and more. And I feel like it's a crazy thing, man. But like just seeing the dogs deal with the depression. I see with the dogs, like I left a dog with my parents. My parents is old people. The dog acts like an old person. It doesn't act like a dog that's with me. I feel like it's the same thing, like with kids, you know. Like they say, like the first kid that's born, they say that that kid, since it's with the adults, since it's with his parents and there's no siblings, it thinks and behaves more like an adult. Whereas like if you have second, third, fourth kid, those kids are all around each other and they're around other kids. They behave. They're reflecting more of the childish behavior than the one that's just only
Yeah,
with the
yeah. And I think it's interesting with the dogs too, because I mean, I've been told my whole life, like before you get a kid, like you should just get a dog because it's gonna prepare you. I've been told that dogs are the best preparation. Um, but like if you can't handle a dog, there's no way you're gonna be able to handle a child.
Yeah, that's why I feel like, you know, as much as I love my dogs and I've cared for them as best I could based on like my state of consciousness. I feel like I failed my dogs at different periods where I'm like, yeah, I'm still not ready. So, you know, I guess that's why I still have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess if I always wondered that, like, would I continue to have dogs? Would I continue to breed the dogs and have dogs if I had a child, or would I be like, all right, I'm done with that phase. These dogs that I have now are the last ones, and or would I have dogs to teach the child? I don't know, but I feel like yeah, like based on some of the failures I've had with my dog, the dogs I've had in the past, I feel like it just shows me, yeah, like I'm glad that I had that experience because maybe I would have been overly confident in thinking that I could have a kid.
That's a lot of people though, so it's yeah, definitely anybody listening to this right now, you're thinking about having a child, go adopt a dog and keep that dog alive and happy, and then come back to that thought about having a kid for real, because it's every parent I've spoken to, they're like it's more than they can put into words, like the experience of it. And I can't say I've had a real glimpse into it, but I've had a similar experience, being in the parental position for my brothers. Like I raised them. I was changing diapers at 2.5 years old. And yeah, my childhood was definitely wasn't a dull moment. um, we definitely didn't have anybody really looking out for us ever, in and out of foster care and this, that, and the other. Lots of drug abuse, lots of child abuse, and just looking at that, and I it definitely gave me strong opinions about people having children, because it's like I'm one of those kids that ended up an orphan. I ended up without any parents, without any guidance, taking care of two little boys on my own. I had no idea about anything besides raising kids from like 2 to 12. Like that's all I was thinking about, was just keeping these two boys alive. And it's
You
a
think it?
lot of it's a lot of work, man.
I bet. You know, I bet. Like you know, you think it robbed you of your childhood?
Let me think about that, because it's definitely been a topic that I've been going through every single day the past couple months. Because I'm sort of in this reset phase. Like I just recently let go of everything like that I was gripping to with my past, including like the past versions of my brothers. I noticed I was very attached to the child forms of them because I didn't feel like I got to like um be with them in the way that they were with each other. And so I think part of that, there's part of me that feels like that, I guess, was robbed of me more so than the entire childhood experience, because I'm kind of at this point now where I feel like, how do I want to put it? I feel like the definition between adult and child is much bigger and much more separating than I think it has to be. And I find myself playing a lot more with, now that I got free time, and I'm not taking care of my moms or my brothers as much anymore, because they're they're 18 and 21 now. My mom's is in her 40s, and so it's kind of like looking at how everybody wants to spend their free time. When people get really happy, they're doing things that people would call quote unquote like childlike. And so I feel like I didn't necessarily get robbed. I think I got like access denied kind of thing. Like I didn't get to do that when everybody else was doing it. But I'm not quite convinced that I can't do it now, that that part of me is like past. Whereas like, you know, a year ago I would have felt like that, but recently it's kind of shifted into this like, well, who is so and so to tell me that I'm not this anymore type deal, you know? It's like I'm definitely like I was a kid. I was me in a kid body, and I'm me in an adult body. But I think the child mind is the one thing that stays. And now that I'm able to grant myself access to that, I think that it's been really good. Like it makes me feel much more alive and involved and connected to whatever it is that I'm doing. But I definitely felt like I just had like people stomping on me my whole child, like my whole time from like 2 to 18, 19 really, because 19 I went off to Hawaii and started doing my own thing, trying to look for property for my family and myself. But yeah, I definitely feel like the access was cut off quick with, and I didn't even know that it was cut off at the time. I didn't know what that meant, you know, as a child. You know, I didn't know other kids had bedtimes. I didn't know other kids ate dinner together with their parents. I didn't know people ate food every day. Like it was really a drastic difference. So it's been a lot of like learning in my adult life to try to get back to that space where I can start to kind of start that development that I should have that other people were doing when they were that age, you know, when they were kids.
So it's kind of like the Michael Jackson effect, almost like where he like, look, I'm about to do.
What you mean?
Well, he couldn't, Joe Jackson forced him into being an entertainer, so he couldn't be a kid. So now he be just as a kid the rest of his life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to find that balance too, you know, like I remember I watched that movie like when I was a kid too, the movie that they did on Michael and his family and stuff, the Jackson Five, and
Yeah,
that movie messed me up. I was crying the whole time. I'm like, damn, I feel you, bro. Like, this
yeah,
just sucks. And
yeah.
it's sad because when he got older, it's like there's a desperation that comes, and I see how my desperation comes out, and it's intense. Like, there's a big need for that, whatever that is that you get when you're a kid from your environment and your family, and you know, being provided a safe place to exist. Having being an adult with access to that, it's like you run for that. Like you're in a full sprint, and it's not even that you're fully conscious that you're sprinting towards it, but it's always there. And that's the tricky part because I feel like if you got anything under the rug that you ain't dealt with, that's gonna come out in your desperation too, and it can get really messy really quickly. And all you're just trying to do is like be yourself, but inadvertently you can end up hurting yourself even worse.
Yeah, definitely. I think you kind of had a similar story to my mom, and I feel like it kind of she kind of generated a resentment. I mean, like at some level, she loved her brothers and sisters, like you did or you do, and but I feel like she was just like, man, damn, I'm sick of raising kids. I kind of maybe never want to do this shit, and I feel like so she waited like pretty long. I feel like to have her first kid because I feel like she was just like, I've been raising kids my whole life. I ain't doing this.
She
Like,
needed a break. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's like, it's a funny thing how that is and how it can prepare you. And I think it kind of makes you almost like surgical. Like I feel like she knew what to expect because she had went through it. I guess so many times. Why, because my grandma had like 7 kids, so she had a bunch of brothers
Oh
and
wow.
sisters. Yeah, you know how it is in the 50s, and so she had all these brothers and sisters that she was taking care of and everything. And I feel like she saw exactly what to do. So like it's almost like she waited her turn, and it's like if you were in class and you see all the other kids do their presentations, and then you go last, and your presentation, it's just gonna you like, look, I understand what not to do based on all you guys doing the wrong thing, and now I know kind of what to do. And I feel like she kind of created monsters in a way. Like my brother, he waited really long to have a child. He waited till he's 38 to have a child, and I feel like you could wait longer than that, but especially as a dude. I feel like you can wait longer. But
Mm-hmm.
like it's just funny how like I feel like it just made us so much more like I guess cerebral and detached from like maybe what the body wanted because we looking at it kind of like we can control it, like kind of like our mom was just like, look, I don't care what I'm feeling, all right, I'm gonna do this like do like I don't know, kind of like a farmer, like I'm gonna do this the way I want to do this. I'm gonna plant this crop the way I want to do it. I don't really care what anyone has to say about it, but it kind of made it like certain things emotionless to where it's just it had its own problems in its own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that comes from like how it all started, like how your mother got brought up into being that care into taking that caretaking role. Um, because I feel like some children they will just assume it, especially like you're saying if it's the first child, they don't really seem to have an issue with like wanting to be very much involved with their siblings. Um, and I know for me, I think mine was initiated through survival, and my subconscious because I don't remember consciously being like, oh, I do or don't want to be around my little brother. I just was. And anytime I saw him being neglected, I would step in and do it. And I don't think there was much thought behind it, And then as
Yeah.
the years went on, it became very natural to me, natural feeling at least, to constantly be that in that protective role for them. And even now, but now it's even trickier because it's like they're grown men, you know, and the dynamic changes, and it's a whole different way of like approaching them, because there's there's definitely an inclination to want to baby them for a very very long time, and there's a level of like self-reflection I think that needs to happen with parents so that they can hit this stage in a way that's productive for both parties, the child and the parent. And I recently did start thinking too, like I got three godchildren now and two brothers, and I got a little sister that I'm still trying to find. She kind of got lost in translation throughout the years, and I'm trying to find her. But I stopped taking care of children because I was a nanny for a very long time. Like that's mostly what I did was nanny and babysit through my teens, and I was just the most recent job I left was working at the YMCA. I was helping run the after school program there. And, it's been great. It's been fantastic. But this year, it's like once I started letting go of things and started to come to the realization that, like, yo, you haven't spent much time doing what you want to do, like, genuinely, um, out of habit, even, which is like a little terrifying, being 24. And I'm like, yo, I haven't spent 1 year on myself since I've been here. And so when that started kind of coming up for me and I started processing those things, I noticed I was like, yo, maybe I should chill out with the kid thing. I don't want to like run out of gas, and
Yeah.
I don't want to ever have like, and I don't want it to feel like a chore in the future because I've been doing it for so long. And, I don't know if it will or not, but it definitely made me stop and think like, look, let's take the next couple years, like get your certifications, get my training in. I need to find a really good coach for, you know, my Muay Thai training and kind of get my shit together so that later on, if it's still there, that, because it's like at this point, I have a skill set and it would be pretty awkward not to use it for myself, and to help others. And so I still see myself working with them in the future. But as far as like the very much like the personal one on one, like helping other people raise their kids, I'm tapped out. Like it's been so much. And it does require a massive amount of your attention constantly. And there's nothing really like it that I found that could even come close to it. And it's also kind of given me like there's a little bit of backfire because now I don't have much interest for things that are like, I wouldn't say not calm, but just like minimally stimulating. So if there's not like a lot of stuff that's required of my mind to focus on something with, it's harder for me to do it. So like recently I started painting because it's such a small thing and it requires like a smaller amount of focus than raising a child does. But I saw that my balance was off with that from raising the kids. Like I'm used to like remembering 1,000 things at once, doing a bunch of stuff back to back to back, never forgetting, this kid needs this medication, this kid needs this food, this kid needs to come up from a nap, this baby needs his diaper changed. Like, because I've taken care of 9 kids at once. That's the most I've done in a nanny situation. And then for a while, I was helping out at a synagogue where I had 27 kids. And there's a lot of call outs. So a lot of the time it would just be me and 27 children. And, so it's like that played a huge role in how my mind developed. And I didn't really realize that. So I think to kind of counteract that potential bitterness in the future or that, running out of gas kind of feeling is you really got to like look at why that might be. What is it that the child engagement did with your mind, and what can you do now with that? And maybe is it too much? Is it taking up too much space? Is there something that's been weakened because of that experience being sustained for so long? So it kind of opened up a huge door for me to grow in a different way this year.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I feel like the masculine and feminine side of it, because the male should be problem solving, protector, provider. Those things, like it requires a different experience in a sense. Like you do need to like know the things that you've been experiencing, but I feel like a male, like, it's kind of like to do things in order. He really probably shouldn't even be thinking about sex, honestly, till like his late 20s, early 30s, in a sense, because
Facts.
yeah, like he's not even really fully developed till 29, till his prefrontal lobe is completed, and then like it's like you want to already have like built an empire or built a sustainable business or foundation for yourself financially or whatever. If it's not financially, then you can grow your money. If you might not need a lot of money if you not got a lot of know-how, if you know how to grow all your food and do
Yep.
things, and problem solve, basically just problem solving and like production. I mean, that's a different type of provider. It don't have to be totally money. So, because like a lot of times, a man can provide a lot of money, but what it takes for the amount of time and attention it takes from him is not worth it. He's not going to be showing his children how to be a problem solver. He's just going to show them how to be a human wallet, or how to be
Mm-hmm.
detached, because he's not really present, because he's so scared of not being a provider that all the focus is the money. It's not the being present with the child or the mom. And I feel like it just comes with the territory. It's a funny thing, man. Like, 'cause if you can't provide for the child, or you're not confident in being able to, then I think the only thing that you can attract as far as mates are going to be like your mom, in a sense. Like they're going to be more like your mommy figure instead of your mate. And then it's like it's a really weird, like, for Freudian connection at that point, because it's not like partners. It's more like a mom, mom son. And then I feel like then it creates that perversion. It creates all types of
Yep.
perversion. I feel like so many perversions stem from that. You know what I mean? And then that's where you get people calling their man daddy and stuff like that. It's because,
Yeah,
like,
they try to cope.
yeah, it's like a pendulum. Pendulum's gonna swing. Like, if you take on a chick that's like your mom, and you're like her son, then it's gonna swing, and then she's gonna be like your daughter, and you're gonna be like the father, and it's just gonna be perverted and like kind of weird. And it might not be bad one generation in, but like generations of that, like it's not holistic. Like, I feel like you want to just have the capacity to be anything at any moment. Like a motherly. Even as a father, you should be able to be maternal, fatherly, be brotherly to your son, be his friend, be all the things. But you don't want to be anything more than one, really, kind of. I mean, you're the father, so I guess that's the thing you should be the most. But I feel like you should have the capacity to do all the things. Same thing with the mom. Different periods in time, the dad might not be there at that moment. She got to be able to be fatherly. But if they abuse it all the time, and the mom got to be the father all the time, then she can't really be a mom like she wants to. And if
It's gonna throw
and if
her off. Yeah.
so, if the dad is with women that are like his mom, then he's more so like a sibling to his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like since my mom raised all her children, that, I mean, since she raised all her brothers and sisters, that like they're all like kind of like her children. They're more like my other siblings still to this day. like the way we talk to each other is more like kind of like equals in a sense, and like I feel like it kind of messes with the structure of the family. Like it should be kind of like a hierarchy, to where I understand things now to where I would never disrespect them, but I feel like growing up when you're just doing things unconsciously, you just now my uncle is like my brother, and I'm not talking to him like my uncle. I'm talking to him like about chicks and fucking and selling drugs or whatever it is. And I'm talking to him about those things. Like why I shouldn't even be talking to him. He should be discouraging all of that, you know. And I feel like it all just stems from their fathers not being around because um, my mom's mom was a prostitute, so she got a bunch of different brothers and sisters by random men that no one knows who the dad is. So like,
Hmm.
no, the dudes, nobody knows who the dads are gone, they're absent. So they got raised by my mom and like I guess each other, and then like they had a stepdad for different periods in time. So like they kind of trying to collect fathers to kind of be their own father, and it just doesn't work the same. I mean, you can mature, and you can get through those traumas and those dysfunctions, but it's like, man, imagine if you just didn't have to do that, and then you just could just work from like level footing, and then you could, yeah, and then you could use your potential to take on different challenges instead of like just trying to get back to where normal is or normalcy.
Yeah, which is absolutely maddening. And it's such a like what you just said is I think is so so important because I look at the idea of having elders around, like we ain't got none. Like I noticed that when I was like 17, I'm like, yo, like what's wrong? Like I started thinking like, what's wrong? Like why is everything so messed up? You know? And I started like attracting people that started helping me figure that out, you know. One big person for me was my buddy Maddie. Like shout out to him. He brought me to you. He brought me to the Fibonacci sequence. He brought me to Zen meditation. And so through all these different facilitators, I started asking a lot of questions. And one of the bigger questions at 17 for me was like, what the heck happened to all the elders? And it's through that process you just described that makes them vanish. You know, there is no uncle anymore. It's family. You know, it's like it's just a generalized group of people playing multiple roles, and it's a lot of acting, and um, it's a lot of self disassociation. And I think that when that comes into play, you cancel out the whole potential of ever becoming an elder that provides
Insight.
reflection on experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. For people coming up into that stage later on, you know, there's not a lot of that. And I started studying a lot of stuff with the Tibetans and whatnot, and different countries and how their systems are kind of set up. And, like Tibet and Africa were two big places I was looking into. And like in Africa, like there's a lot of people that help take care of children in communities still to this day. Like it's a very, very much a group effort. And I like that because it really does take a village to raise a village. You know, it's everybody should be included. It's like kind of like a beehive, like everybody's got their thing that they provide and can offer. And if everybody learns how to receive well, then that can work out really great. But there's still the queen bee. There's still the brood that's separate from the worker bees. That's like everybody's moving around, you know. And so if one thing gets disrupted, whether it be the mother or the father, you cancel out an immediate elder. Like that child just lost one, you know, and it's detrimental as we can all see, like where we're at right now. And I think prior to that, when we did have more elders walking around with their heads screwed on straight, like things were a lot more uh reflection was a lot more available to us on a level that is more personal and not just like there's people that are coaches, there's mentors, there's instructors, but they're all for like very basic specific things, like you got health coaches and this and that and the other to help you with one type of thing in life. But that compared to an elder is like a speck. Like the elder had more of a holistic approach to everything and have more to offer than just one thing. So it kind of like fractalizes everything, creates more separation, more pockets for chaos to erupt in, and it's a whole shit show.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, like it's just it's just people's not they're not fully maturing, you know, and they're forcing
Yeah.
other things got to mature faster than they should. Like, you know, it's like you said, like you got to be, like you said, a brute or whatever. But it's somebody that, like, imagine if you know, if you have to be physically, you know, standoffish because, you know, you have to protect something, but you're not the patriarch. You might be the son or somebody, and so now you have to take on these shoes that really don't fit you, and you don't get to work on those areas that you would be working on if everything was in order. So now it's like you're developing different areas or maturing different areas of your body or of your being that is just not, this is not supposed to be happening at that time. You know, it's not that there's anything wrong with maturing those things. It's just that you have to rush certain areas, so then other areas get neglected, and then they might never really ever mature if you know, if the traumas just keep compounding, and then you just stay in like defensive mode.
Hmm. And that's something I've been facing for a fat minute, and it, man, I think the only thing really that helps with that is, I have one friend. His name's Patrick, and he's in his early 30s, and he's kind of like an elder to me. Like he definitely has a lot of insight in a way that I receive well. He's very straightforward. He's very direct, no bullshit kind of policy kind of guy. And um, one thing that he's told me time and time again, and he's like, if you don't know what to do, just build your will. Like focus on building your will. And that alone has been the biggest catalyst for me to start looking at these other parts of myself and my development. Because without willpower, I'm not shit. I'm not doing much really. And I think for anybody, listening to this right now, like if you stuck, if you don't know what's going on with you, like do little things to build your willpower. It could be like, I don't know, brushing your teeth at the same time every day. It's just like building that muscle because we're stripped of our will so early on. And so many people, all across the world, like willpower is stripped over and over and over again in so many ways, be it physically or just through sound. Like there's a lot of disruption. So I think that the biggest thing that anybody could do right now, that's dealing with that would be to just find different ways to build up your will because that's what's going to allow you to go into yourself on your own terms manually and not always be like triggered and pulled into something and then having to process it then and there or deflect it for it to come back twice as hard later. When you get a stronger will built, it's it's much more, it just feels more like, I don't want to say control or power, but something like that. Like you're the one that's walking for yourself. You're not having anybody push you around.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like flexing a muscle, like you said. Like people need to flex that no muscle and get good at saying no.
Hmm.
You know, the more that you can say no, the more that when the more that I feel like the more that you can say no to the things that you need to say no to and flex that muscle and strengthen that, when things, you know, you need to say yes to come along, then you're not gonna say no. You know what I mean? It's gonna be obvious. Everything's gonna be appropriated at that point. You're gonna say like no, 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 because you're just being present, and because that's really what it is. The more present you are, the more will you have. It's kind of not even a separation. Like
Yeah.
will and consciousness are kind of the same thing. Like it's like if,
Hmm.
and the only time that you don't really have will is like when there's separation somewhere in the body. Like if, and the body is basically a body of energy or whatever. So it's like whenever the energy is broken from the separated because there's something between, whether it be a substance, or a drug or whatever, or food, whatever you want to call it, between the body, the energy body, and the will or the consciousness, then your will can't come through that body. So the more that you say no to things, the more that the will just never is not going to leave the body. So then, you know, when things are appropriate to say yes to, it's like a no-brainer. You don't really have to think about it. Like it's kind of no separation because yeah, the more that you're present and more in touch with your will, then you're just constantly manifesting from your true will, as opposed to manifesting from like a lesser will, you know, lesser desires or whatever, lesser identity. The more that you reside in that, in like a broken energy, then your will is gonna be like, ah man, I'm just gonna go to sleep. whether it be actually going to sleep or doing a drug or eating some food out of place. It should be That's all gonna manifest things on the path that are not from the true will. So then it all becomes confusing because now you got these things that you're attracting or manifesting magnetically or however you want to look at it, because you're operating from this lesser identity or this false identity. And so now the body is now having to navigate through a bunch of things that were attracted on its path that really aren't for it. It's for
It's
whatever
like
that.
a minefield. Yeah,
Yeah. So like the parasites coming through or the false identity, whatever, is manifesting minds on the path that would have never been there if you would have just you would have been so easy to steer clear of the more that you just stay present, say no to the things that you need to say no to, and then the things that you need to say yes to, it's not like anything you have to think about because you don't have to think when you're aware. You're just moving towards,
exactly.
yeah, moving on forward on the path. So it's like I don't really have to think. It's just consciousness, just awareness. It's just this is the logical thing, and this is the emotionally intelligent thing, and the thoughts and the emotions aren't really separate. They're happening simultaneously, and the consciousness is just moving forward.
Hmm. And it starts with little things because a lot of people are so far from the present. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize how small you can start with it, But it really
Yeah.
is like the little things that make the biggest difference because you got to get it rolling. And, I always think like that. You see that Shia LaBeouf video where he was just yelling, "Just do it." Like it's like that kind of energy. Like you really just gotta go. Like you're good. Like, and for me, a lot of the driving force is my mortality. Like I think about it every single day. Like when I wake up and before I go to bed, it's like, yo, I'm not gonna be like this eventually. Like, and I don't know when that eventually is gonna come. And it's like you can do all this planning for the future. You can say tomorrow I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna do this and that, or tomorrow I'm gonna be nicer to my brother, or tomorrow I'm gonna call my friend that I haven't talked to in a month. It's like it's really not tomorrow's really not there, and that's been a big thing for me. It's like especially with building my will and becoming more present. It's like saying no to the frame of time that this world has presented to us as an option and as a kind of a driving force for most people. My thing was I started saying no to that. Like so I'm on my own time. And when I went to Hawaii, it was really nice because that's kind of how it is there. Hawaiian time is definitely a big thing, and it is what it is when it is, and that's just what it is. Like, and it's so much. There's so much truth in that, and it's you can kind of see like if anybody's ever lived in a place where that's accepted or practiced, and then coming back to the States for me was like I had culture shock all over again because I was like, yo, motherfuckers are rushing everywhere, and it's all within this one frame, this 24-hour frame, which is only masculine to start. There's already a non-inclusiveness in there to begin with, but a lot of it's just like you can say no to things that are bigger than you. You don't have to just say no to yourself or your friends. Like you can say like no, like today I don't care what time it is. I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna move how I move, I'm gonna do what I feel like I want to do in the moment. And through that kind of like openness, I feel like you can start to learn much more about yourself when you're not having these like mental constraints on you. Like there are days where I tape over the clock on my phone. I don't look at the timers or the timers. I don't look at the clock on the oven or anything like that. And I won't do it until I start to see the sun go down. And then I'm like, all right, let's see what time it is because I know I got stuff to prepare for tomorrow, whether it be work or what have you. But giving yourself an opportunity to just like say no to everything for a day, even just once a month, I feel like it it can it can provide a lot more space for people than I think they realize. Just having that one day, because then it's like if you never try to see what it could be, then you're never gonna see what it could be. And so for me, that's been a big thing. And I do it once a week now. Like on Sundays, I usually don't. unless I've been the past couple Sundays I've been going and helping take care of my godchild and my friend out of town. But this is like the first weekend in 5 that I've had to myself, and so having that reset to help remind myself of what my will looks like and how it operates, so that when I go back into my work week where I'm giving a lot of myself away, I can carry that with me and even have a better experience with my work week, even though it's like, I'm going and I'm gonna go be a slave for a little bit, but at the same time, it's like I still got my own, and I know that I have a lot more power at that point because I gave myself that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, you got to just ask yourself why. Whenever you are moving in any direction, you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up at this time? Why am I doing this at this time? Like, and
Uh-huh.
really, and really think the whole thought out. I feel like a lot of people don't want to. You've seen 8 Mile. You know what I mean? Like when Eminem, like he was insulting himself. He's be rabbiting himself. He said all of the bad things about himself so that his enemies couldn't. He disarmed
Yeah.
them. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with the parasites or whatever. I feel like you kind of got to be like, so why am I doing this? And like really, and then if you got these judgmental thoughts in your mind that you keep like repressing or blocking, and you're not fully thinking them out or whatever, just really let them come through, and really think out the thoughts of like, man, am I doing this because I'm pathetic? Am I doing this because of an attachment? Like, why am I really doing this? Am I doing this because it feels like it boosts my ego, or am I doing it to like justify something else that I do wrong? I'm doing this thing correctly so that I can do something else wrong. And so like I feel like a lot of people just got to question that, in their daily movements. And once you start to do that, it's not like you got to do it every day. You start to get in, like, once you get in touch with your body like that and the core of you, then you start to see like, man, I'm moving from this place. And then once you identify that, then like whenever you go back into that space where you're moving from that place again, you go, oh wait, this is that place of envy or jealousy or whatever, or fear, whatever, whatever. It's all really fear. The seven sins. Pride is kind of fear. It's like egotistical fear. It's
Yeah.
like, so that's really kind of like what a lot of people move from. Vanity, and like, what they think other people think about them. But it's all about what you think about you, or what attachment, what thoughts that you become attached to, because you're gonna have thoughts one way or another. The thoughts are gonna come through. You're gonna have negative and positive thoughts. Every positive thought's gonna get accompanied by a negative. It's just the same way. Like, you're like, man, should I eat this? And then you ask yourself genuinely, then you're gonna get that one thought that says yeah, and then you get the other thought that says, okay, maybe I shouldn't because of this. So it's always going to be like that with thoughts. It's always going to be positive and negatively charged thoughts, or dark and light, however you want to look at it, man. Or complimentary and offensive thoughts. You can look at it like that more than positive and negative. So like that's
Hmm.
going to happen. They're always going to be accompanied by their alter ego in a sense. So it's like you don't. Just like, why am I identifying with these thoughts? Because I can't take one. They're a package deal. And that's where I feel like narcissism comes from, is like, just getting caught up in the pride and the vanity. That is going to come with the shame and the self-hatred.
Mm.
That you can't get one without the other. The more that you're proud and vain, you're just setting yourself up for a bigger and bigger and bigger fall. And then, like, pride is just like immature shame. You a little
Oh,
you're going into
it's too
pride.
good.
Yeah, you're going into pride now because you're a little bit ashamed. So you just run into pride. But the more that you stay going into the pride, it just can mature. That shame just matures and matures and matures. And then after years of that, it just blows up. And then now you're shameful and you're carrying this shame, and then so I think people just like toggle back and forth from that. They just going through the extremes of that pendulum of like, pride and shame, instead of just non-attachment, and doing things holistically, things like, looking at things like, man, everything I do is important and valuable. So I should do things that are complementary to me, and anything that's complementary to me, truly, completely, it has to be good for the world, because there's no separation. But the more that you think that you can be proud without shame coming, or you see them as separate things, the more that, you're just deluded, because they're just
Yo,
two sides of the same coin. It's inevitable that that coin is going to flip.
man. I mean, I wish that was like on billboards everywhere. That's such a big note. Like, especially too, because like a lot of self-hatred is initiated through shame, and that's a big red flag. That's a hard thing to go through.
Yeah, it's just like, and the shame is just like, it's like reverse pride. It's like a deep attachment to the pride. Like, the only way you can be ashamed is if you're still proud, if you're still attached to the false identity. Because, like, as soon as you, like, all right, I'm slipping into shame, you're like, all right, I could either go feed the pride, the shame, they're really not separate things, or I could do something about it. Like, it's like, it doesn't, if you're really sorry, you do something about it. If you're not sorry, then, you're not sorry. And so, like, if you got this identity, like, oh man, I should be sorry about this, even though I'm really just genuinely not, then you're gonna constantly, like, stay in this false identity of, like, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed, you know what I mean? I should, but it's really like a facetious, it's a deep facetiousness. You know what I mean? I feel
Hmm.
like the shameless or the meek, they're kind of the same. They get what they want, in a sense, because they have no shame, they have no attachment. They're like, look, moving forward. I don't care if I did wrong yesterday or even 10 minutes ago. It doesn't mean I can't do right now. So I'm gonna move forward right now. And I feel like if you caught up in the shame, then you just caught up in the attachment to being helpless. And
Yeah, and you're killing
some
yourself. It's a slow suicide.
Yeah, it's in Ecclesiastes, man. That's why I feel like
It's a
Ecclesiastes,
what?
and
What does that mean?
no, Ecclesiastes is a book in the Bible. Ecclesiastes, to me, it's like you could read that in 30 minutes. Like, you kind of don't even need to read the rest of the book. But if you read Ecclesiastes, the whole thing is pretty much just about vanity, pride and shame. And I feel like it's the best book in the Bible, and it's one of the smallest ones. So I feel like, that book definitely taught me that, that it's inevitable that pride's going to turn into shame, and that people are just, the more that they feed into either one, you get both. And then it just turns into just deep delusion, and then dilution, and then and then from there it's just parasitic as fuck.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check that out today. I haven't read it.
Yeah, Ecclesiastes is like the Tao Te Ching, but the Christian version. I feel like it's like a 30 minute
Mm.
Tao Te Ching.
All right, all right. Yeah, I live with a really nice woman. She's got a couple of Bibles around. I'm gonna have to hit her up when she gets home. Check it out.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the Bible, my favorite books is Ecclesiastes by King David, and then Proverbs by his son. Solomon is his son,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
yeah, so those two is the best books in the Bible. I don't even think you need to read the rest of the book. I love it though. I love the whole book. I love what it like. I love the Tao Te Ching, Wahoo Jing. I love all the holy books in a lot of respects, but the Bible, any book that can give you circumstances kind of helps a little bit, because the Tao Te Ching, in a sense, is like, yo, if you haven't gone through experiences and then you read this, like, you're kind of not gonna get some of this. Whereas like the Bible, if you read it, then you kind of see, like, the circumstances. Like, if you pick pride or vanity, you're gonna get this outcome. And it just shows you, like, different people or different stories of people picking those things, or picking humbleness or integrity rather than pride and vanity, and then they get different outcomes. And I feel like, even if you never experience those things, if you get acquainted with those concepts, once you do run into it, you're like, oh, that's what this is, you know. So I really do like, the Bible in some senses. Some books, I guess, I like more than others. Obviously, I like them too more than the rest, the others. But yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I started reading a bit of it when I was like 12 or 13, and I started going through Genesis, and I got really, really hooked on Genesis. Uh, just with the just kind of how they said that the worlds were set up. And I'm still in a deep dive with it because it's gotten real complicated cross-referencing it with the other some other holy books that I picked up. Uh, but certain things like Proverbs, and like I haven't really found too much dispute for it anywhere else, and so and it when you read it, it does sit well. I'm curious, do you have like a specific edition that you would recommend people to check out? Because I know a lot of them are different, and uh, I've been told a couple of ones are better, for lack of better words, than others, but what would you suggest?
For me, it's funny. If you're gonna read it, I think you should get the Septuagint. I think you should get the Greek one, and because that's a Septuagint, and I feel like it just certain things make sense. You know what I mean? Like Lucifer is Prometheus in that one. They call Lucifer Prometheus throughout the book, and so certain things are gonna get some certain dots are gonna get connected with the Septuagint more than the King James version or other versions. I like the King James version for if I listen to it on audio book because it just sounds dope. Somebody speaking that old English.
Yeah.
Like if I listen to like the standard English translation or whatever, or the new versions or whatever, it just sounds more too vanilla. Where it's like, I need that old style, man. You can't read me this story and some different shit.
Right. I definitely feel that.
Yeah, nah. There's a dude named Alexander Scorby. And he did the whole Bible and the King James version for free. You can pick it up on there. Like every book is separated, and I feel like if anybody want to listen to Ecclesiastes, take about a half hour and listen to Alexander Scorby, Scourby, King James version. And I think it's a little easier to digest sometimes if you have an imagination. Sometimes the listening to the audiobook is better than reading it.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna definitely have to check that out today.
Yeah. What would you I always like what would it's always funny, man, like introducing a child. If I had a child, like introducing them to different languages and then introducing them to the books in all these different languages. I don't know. What would you feel like you would introduce the child to first? Like as far as literature?
Ooh. I gotta think about that.
Maybe we go into it for the next podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. The first thing that came to my head was poetry. Um, and I'm not sure what poet.
Yeah, I know they got the Tao Te Ching in rhyme. Oh, I can't hear. I hope it didn't cut off. Even though I don't like the word hope. It's hope.
All right, we're back.
All right, yeah, I guess I'll leave it up to you then to scrunch these together and make a slideshow. Because or maybe I could still do it. I got an app that could do it, but I don't know how you wanted to close this thing out. I feel like that was a solid hour and some change. I know you wanted to talk about the poetry and however you wanted to plug the next one we do.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, poetry definitely came to mind. And looking at just kind of historically what people have given their children. You got a lot of Dr. Seuss, and like every children's book is some sort of rhyming scheme. But goodness gracious, I hate children's books. Like most of them, I can't stand them. They're just, I don't,
You
I'm
gotta
not.
make one. You gotta make your own then, because who would know better? I mean, you're the mother to like a colony of kids at this point now.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely like to do that. I could see myself doing that one day. Um, Especially for my own children because there's a lot of like baby proofing and proofreading and proof watching and just trying to check out different environments and feeds of information for the child as you're helping raise them. Where kind of But yeah, there's a lot to be said about poetry and how it affects your memory development, and uh, it fits really well with the way that the brain likes to move and remember things and insert its creativity. So I think I would encourage a lot of poetry and a lot of writing prior to reading other people's things. And I've noticed that's a thing with a lot of like a couple of teachers and coaches that I've heard about through friends or reading or witnessed myself. Like they encourage you to do your thing first before you look at anybody else's stuff. But I think for I would say probably like 9 or 10, I would encourage more writing than I would reading, just so that the child has the opportunity to exercise and express themselves and kind of figure out what they would even like to be reading later on. But yeah, I'll definitely start with poetry and writing and a lot of drawing and just like art things for creative outlets. Because I feel like the more you get out and produce in your infancy and your childhood, the more well equipped you are to make decisions for yourself later on in life. If you have more experience with yourself, you're not spending your childhood experiencing the world through somebody else's perspective. It's good for and I think reading is great. I don't have a problem with children reading. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's like, what are they reading and why are they reading it? They're
Yeah.
to give something to a child without purpose, like, is a neglect.
Yeah, it's like whoever got good at you know uh driving cars by reading about driving cars.
Exactly. They didn't.
Yeah. You guys gotta grab the steering wheel.
hmm Those are some of the best memories I had with my godfather. He used to take me around the parking lot and let me steer the wheel. And honestly, it made me a lot more comfortable just riding in cars as a child to see how it felt and what it looked like and to see what he was doing. And that's really what a lot of it comes down to. Like, and when I say like, having the kids have space for writing poetry and whatnot, like I see myself doing it with them. Doing things with your child makes a huge difference because again, like you're the elder. If you're not leading by example, you're not leading, you know? And so then to expect your child to listen to you later on in life or take your advice is kind of a joke to me because it's like you were never there to them in their mind, you know?
Yeah, it don't even register the same.
hmm But yeah, it's been a great pleasure, Taylor. I appreciate you suggesting this, and I'm glad we were able to do it, even though it took about 4 or 5 tries to get this thing to work properly.
It's all on God's time, or however you want to look at
Yep,
that.
yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let's stay in touch about next week, and I'm down to keep talking about children. Honestly, it's kind of a big part of my life, so I'm always down for that.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely the most important, man. It's the future, so it's what we gotta address because
Absolutely.
obviously motherfuckers dropped the ball in some ways, but at the same time, it made us who we are.
hmm There's a lot of potential to be had through neglect, but that's only if the the child can handle it in the first place, and not everybody can. People that do are lucky.
Going to the common response, and then
Yep.
yeah. Well, all right then, Koda. I'm sure we're gonna do some more kodaCast.
kodaCast, I like that. Yeah. Let's I'll get back to you about scheduling the next one.
All right then. You have a good rest of your day, and or however you want, whatever. I don't know. You ain't no days and night. Ain't no tomorrow. Have a good.
Keep enjoying, keep living.
Yeah. Until we speak again.
Till we speak again.
All right. Peace.
Bye bye.